Welcome back to Coffee Talk. Grab your coffee. Join us for our talk today. We're trying out our microphones to see if maybe it can help improve our sound quality. We'll see. But today we're going to talk about how to ease into retirement. Retirement can be scary because you've worked your whole entire adult life. And then even if you plan and your numbers are good and on paper everything looks like, oh yeah, I'm going to be all right, it's scary.
Very scary.
To just take that leap of faith and retire. So some people might find it beneficial to kind of ease into retirement. Well, how do you do that? Well, if your company allows it, you could back off on your days a little bit. Instead of working 5 days a week, cut back to 4 days a week. And then maybe eventually 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week, or whatever. Before I retired, I was working 2 days a week. So I wasn't putting in a whole lot of hours at that point. So it made jumping off that retirement cliff a little bit easier because I was already part-time.
Yeah. And where I worked at, I had a fellow employee. She was wanting to retire, and she said, Keith, I'm going to retire when I'm 62. I said, that's great. And 62 came. I said, weren't you going to retire? She said, I've changed to 65. I said, okay, that's good, whatever. And she was widowed, and she enjoyed, I know she enjoyed the social aspect of working and everything. And 65 came, and we had a new boss come, an executive director. And the first thing she said when she came in, it says, I just want to tell you up front, at 72, I'm retiring. And 72 came, and well, first, she said, well, how long is that? And she said like 5 years at that time. And the 72 came, she was still there, and she kept saying, I'm going to retire. And so she started working 4 days a week. And then at 72, she came in and says, I think I'm going to wait to 75. I'm going to retire at 75, but I like to work 3 days a week. Sure enough, they said, work things out. Of course, put a little bit more work on me. So she started working 3 days a week. She was an assistant bookkeeper at that time with me. And then 80 came, she was still there. And she just, she said, I just really enjoy coming in, gives me something to do. But I'm going to see, do you think they'd mind if I work 2 days a week? So sure enough, 2 days a week came. And finally, she was 84 when she retired. And it's like, wow, she started thinking about it before about age 60, and then retired till she was 82 or 84. Wow.
So, I mean, it is a big decision, and especially if you're widowed and, you have nobody to retire with. That's why we really wanted to retire together. And I retired at 63 because we wanted to retire together, and we wanted to have a good retired life and not work till we're 80.
Yeah, because once you step out that door, the final day, there's no turning back. You're gone, and then that's when all those fears and doubts, start creeping into your head. Now what?
That's when reality hits, and you think, "Oh my gosh, can we pay our bills?" Because things don't always work out in real life like they do on paper. But just know, everybody goes through that because it's a phase of life we've never been in before, and so with anything new comes a fair amount of fear. There are some companies now that are offering a 4-day work week. Instead of coming in 5 days, you come in 4, but instead of working 8 hours, you work 10. That puts in your 40 hours a week. And a lot of companies are doing that because they find that gives their employees a 3-day weekend, and that helps retain employees when you can do that.
Yes. It's a good incentive, when you're thinking, wow, I'm getting a 3-day weekend basically. And then, I probably might have stayed a couple more years if I would have had that all this time.
So there are several advantages to easing into retirement. The first thing, it just helps with the transition. You go from working 5 days to you're not working at all. That's a huge transition. But if you can ease into that, it does help with that retirement transition. Another advantage of easing into retirement is it gives you the opportunity to find hobbies that you're interested in, or maybe spend more time in a hobby that you love to do, but you just never had time to do. So if you're working 4 days a week or 3 days a week, then that gives you that extra time to spend on your hobbies.
And then another thing that it kind of helps, especially in the case of my coworker there, where she went down to 4 days and 3 days a week, gives her an opportunity to know that she could make and pay her bills with less money. So it's kind of eases that stress of not knowing, will I be able to pay my bills? Will I be able to afford whatever it might be? If something broke down, would I be able to afford this? So when you slowly go down to 4 days or 3 days, it gives you an opportunity to know self-assurance, to know that you can make it on less money.
Yeah, so not only are you transitioning from the time, you're transitioning from the money as well.
That's a big transition.
Yes. And so that's one of the big fears that people have is, gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it when I retire. And if you ease into retirement, then that helps ease that fear and know that you can do it and you can make it. Another advantage to easing into retirement is you can better manage your health. When we work full time, it's hard to get that exercise in that you need. I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and get on the treadmill, because if I didn't do it then, I wouldn't do it. So now in retirement, we don't have to get up at 4:30 anymore. So it's just easier to get our walks in. It's easier to get our exercise in, because we're not under the time constraints of a job. So if you ease into your retirement, you can get into those healthy habits, because when you retire, you have to make that effort to stay on top of your health. Don't get lazy and go sit in the lazy boy and
it's easy to do, believe me. I know.
You've got to keep on top of it, because that's what's going to keep you going and keep you healthy for as long as you can. Another thing about easing into retirement is it helps ease that fear of the sudden retirement cliff that you jump off of. If you're working full time and then boom, you stop, it's like you jump off that cliff and it's kind of scary. But if you can ease into your retirement, it helps ease that fear. And everybody has it. It's common because we've never faced retirement before. It's a whole new ball game for us.
I remember my last day when I walked out. I left like an hour early, 3 o'clock, and first thing I did was text Terri and say, "Well, game on. I'm out. Retirement is here."
I retired one day. He retired the next. So it's a whole new ball game. So if you have the opportunity, it can be very beneficial to ease into retirement, because that way it does ease a lot of those fears and a lot of the things that you face once you retire.
So if you do have the opportunity to cut back on hours or go down to a shorter work week, and you're kind of concerned about whether you're going to make it, whether it be financially, what you're going to do with your time, these are incentives that you can talk to your supervisors or talk to your HR people and find out if you can cut back in your hours or your days and kind of ease into retirement.
And most employers, if they have good, faithful employees, they want to retain you for as long as they can. So they'll work with you. And we were both fortunate. We had good employers and they did work with us. And like I said, I went down to 2 days a week before I retired, and it was helpful in that transition. So if you can think of something that you would like for us to talk about in a coffee talk, let us know in the comments. We'll see you next time on Retired and Loving It. If you would like to see more of our videos, click the video that just popped up on your screen